right. Awesome. So again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Today's workshop for supervisors of student employees, or working learners, as we like to use that term, is all about onboarding, best practices, different strategies, resources that are available to you all as you are onboarding new working learners, or again, student employees, into your departments and onto your teams. My name is Abby Anderson. I'm Program Coordinator Senior with WorkPlus. I've been a professional staff member with ASU now for a little over 6 years and have been supervising working learners for about 5 years now. Additionally, I was a working learner or a student employee for about 2.5 years prior to graduating. So just a little bit about me and my experience there. And again, thank you all for joining me. We'll go ahead and dive into today's session. So of course, we're covering the working learner demographics, who are our students that are working on campus. We'll also cover a little bit about the preparation leading up to the actual onboarding process, things to consider during the onboarding process, as well as some best practices just to keep in mind as you are moving forward with onboarding new hires. I'll briefly cover a couple of resources that WorkPlus has available for you all. But again, majority of this session, we'll have plenty of time towards the end for you all to share your own experiences, share your own resources or strategies that have worked well for you all with other supervisors here at ASU. Again, one part of WorkPlus that we are striving for is to really build this community of supervisors of student employees. So again, knowing that y'all are not alone, you have us at the WorkPlus office, but also all of you, each other across the university, across the 4 different main campuses and satellite locations, that kind of thing. So taking a look at the demographics of our working learners, what we know about working learners is oftentimes these are students that must work while attending classes, attending school. For some students, this might be their first job ever. So just again, keeping that in mind as we're working with some students. On the slide here, on the left-hand side, we have some statistics that are coming from a study done by Georgetown University that is stating 43% of all working learners are coming from either low-income households or are, part of other disenfranchised or marginalized disenfranchised groups. So again, noting that 18% are identifying as Black, 58% as female, about 25% as Latinx, and 47% are first-generation students. So again, knowing the demographics of our students and where they may be coming from is so important. Looking at ASU specifically, highlighted there on the right-hand side of the screen, we know that at least 7 out of 10 of our undergrad students are working at least one job during their undergraduate career. This can be on campus or off campus. Sometimes it's both on campus and off campus. But additionally, knowing that ASU employs upwards of 10,000 students on an annual basis, this is a large population that we can be extremely intentional with regarding how prepared these students are when they're leaving ASU and entering that workforce. So again, sharing this just so that we can keep these stats in mind, as it's potentially the student's first job. There's possibly some gaps based on their demographics. So again, the onboarding process for students and setting that standard of expectations for their student employment experience is very important right out the gate. So looking at some of the important aspects of having an effective onboarding, we're going to start with bonding with the department or the team. An effective onboarding can really help employees build the connections and find support within their team, which then is going to lead to increasing the students' trust with your department, helping them feel a sense of belonging. Additionally, an effective onboarding can help the student or employee become more confident and self-sufficient more quickly, reducing the amount of time that the student is needing to become a productive member of your team. I don't know about you all, but with May quickly approaching, I have 3 of my 4 students that are seniors and will be graduating in May. I'm already dreading the hiring process because it can be such a lengthy and time-consuming process for us. So again, having these effective strategies or resources just really helps in the long run of your student employees' experience. A structured onboarding plan can also help your student employees feel more supported and better connected to the department's overall mission, which can, of course, then drive better employee engagement. So again, noting not only ASU's mission as you're onboarding your students, but letting them get to know what does your college or your department really stand for, and helping them understand that mission there as well. Of course, first impressions are everything. Onboarding affects the employee's perception of your department. Having an effective onboarding strategy just really helps create a better impression. It improves the employee's understanding of their role, expectations that you as their supervisor may have, and again, just really helps the employee feel comfortable and supported. Looking at the next one, again, streamlining that process. It will really ensure that employees aren't wasting time on tedious or frustrating tasks that aren't helping them or the team. So again, having a structured plan in place, knowing that here are trainings that are mandatory for all ASU student employees need to take, those FERPA trainings, the fire safety training, different things like that, having them just ready for the student rather than them trying to search for those different trainings. Again, just streamlining that process is going to help your new hires. Increasing the student staff retention. An effective onboarding can really lead to an increase in that retention rate. Again, saving you and your department's time and resource for everyone there. If we can make a good first impression, have things organized for our students, it will likely lead to the student wanting to stay with your team in the long run. And again, reduce the amount of time that you're having to post those jobs, block off your calendar for different interview timing, redoing the onboarding process with a new hire, that kind of thing. It also will allow for new employees to become self-sufficient and lead to fewer mistakes in their work, which again, creates less of a burden for you, for others on your team, for other student employees that they may be working with. And lastly, it's a great opportunity for you as their supervisor to identify or address any skills gaps that you may see in them, provide training or additional development opportunities that the student may need. And again, also ensuring that those mandatory trainings that ASU requires are getting complete in a timely manner. So I know that today's topic is focusing on the onboarding process, but I do just want to take a moment and highlight some things that you can do to prepare for your onboarding and hiring process ahead of time, starting with your job descriptions and expectations, just making sure that you are ensuring the job role and responsibilities are clearly defined in that job posting. Knowing too that there may be some kind of like other duties as assigned. You'll also want to do some of those administrative tasks ahead of time, working with your business department. You may want to outline necessary paperwork or tasks that should be completed before their first day. So within University College, we're asking students to, complete your I-9, any tax information, that kind of thing ahead of time before starting their first day in office. Communication is huge in the preparing for onboarding, during the onboarding process, after the onboarding process. But just leading up to the student's first day, being sure to maintain open and clear communication with your new hire. So if they haven't been to your office before, send them an email ahead of time with your office address, your office number, or the room number that the student may be needing to look for, what parking options are available if that's needed for the student. Also listing out, dress code. What is dress code needed for your office? I like to let my students know coming to work is business casual. Understanding that our student employees, our working learners, are students first, and we live in Arizona, weather gets hot, and you may not want to go to class in jeans and a button-up shirt, but make sure you're bringing a change of clothes when you get to the office, or keeping a work polo in office ready for you to wear if you're needing to change, that kind of thing. And then lastly here, setting up the student's workspace, making sure to set up all necessary equipment or technology will just ensure, fully functional, ready to use for your student so that you can use that time to provide any department swag, I like to use this time to, give our student a Work Plus polo, and here's a Work Plus keychain. Again, just helping them feel recognized and valued and really feel part of the team. This is also a good opportunity to leave a note from the supervisor, just a short, like, welcome to the team, we're happy to have you, that kind of thing. So the onboarding process itself can be lengthy, and really it should be a lengthy process. It's not one that can be completed in a single day. What I have on the screen, this is just a good starting point or guide on how you could lay out your onboarding. So again, for day one, it's always good to start with a warm welcome. Give your new hire a tour of the office location. So workspaces for the student where they might be kind of set up and working at, showing them your office, other important individuals that the student may be working with. So if there's a director that they need to be aware of where their office is, that kind of thing. Highlighting conference rooms, break rooms, bathrooms, that whole nine there. Additionally, introducing your working learner to everyone that they'll be working with. So again, from the peers that they may be working with, other students already on your team, to just individuals on your floor or in your office. Again, using University College and the Work Plus office as an example. University College's Dean, Dean Jaj, he is located in our suite. So making sure to point out to our students that, Dean Jaj is on this floor and here's his office and this is who he is. If you run into him, he's nice. You can say, hey, introduce yourself, that kind of thing. Like I mentioned too, going over any ASU or your department missions values, just to, again, set the tone and expectations of your department's culture. And then really starting the onboarding process with your new hire, being sure to discuss their schedule, highlighting any trainings that they need to complete, and giving an overview of the tasks that the student will be responsible for. Again, great opportunity to have their workspace decorated or provide any of that departmental swag. In the first week of your students' onboarding process, this is where we're ensuring that the new hire is getting those ASU mandatory trainings completed in a timely manner. And we have a couple resources I can highlight and show what some of those trainings are. I know with the Workday transition, some of those links changed and things got moved around there. So I'll be able to highlight some of that for you all. I also like to have my new students fill out a recognition worksheet so that I can capture how the students like to be recognized. Do they prefer public or private recognition? What are their career goals? Helping me understand what they are striving for post ASU and how, as their supervisor, I might be able to assign different tasks or projects that align with some of those career goals they may have. Additionally, the worksheet also just captures some silly like favorites, their favorite drink, their favorite color, their favorite ice cream, just to further show, hey, I want to get to know you. I care about you as a human. And again, then that worksheet will come in handy just for throughout the year, being able to recognize your students. I like to use mine, again, just random shout outs or show recognition or appreciation to my students. When it started to get hot, right before the semester kicked off, I got my students a pint of their favorite ice cream just to say, thank you, it's hot, there's a cool treat for you to snack on throughout your shift or take home with you, that kind of thing. Within the first week, again, just wanting to continue to clearly outline specific tasks or responsibilities associated with your student's role. Some of those smaller administrative tasks, again, including filling out tax forms, direct deposit information, access to necessary systems, whether your department's needing the student to have Salesforce access, Outlook access. Our team uses Monday.com, making sure that my students have access to that project management system, different things there. I would also encourage you to go through any ASU resources that may need to be utilized as an employee or even as a student. So one thing with that, I like to have my students visit the MU here on the Tempe campus to get a professional portrait at the photo booth. If you're not familiar with that, there's a photo booth over at the MU by Pitchforks and Desert Financial. Stop right there. You can get 3 professional portraits emailed directly to you, and it's open for staff, students, faculty, alumni. So if you haven't checked it out, I encourage you to do so. There's also a photo booth available at the downtown Phoenix location in the post office. So if you're at downtown and you want to check that out, stop by the post office over by Changemaker Central, and there's a photo booth there for you to utilize as well. Looking at just the first month of onboarding, again, being intentional and checking in with your new working learner just to ensure that they are understanding your department, they understand their role and their responsibilities, but also making sure that they have access to any tools or resources that they need to be successful in the position. Again, with that, it could be something as little as one of my working learners that I recently hired. She is a communication specialist. She helps us out with a lot of our different communication pieces, whether it's in the newsletter, Slack channel, Instagram, different things there. We utilize Canva as a tool to help make our flyers and things. I didn't give her the login to our Canva account. So little things like that, just making sure that we're checking in that students have those different access pieces that they may need. So now looking at just some best practices that we would recommend, starting with structure. Structure is very important because this is, again, ensuring the student is receiving consistent, comprehensive trainings and support, which will then help them quickly become a productive member of your team, help them feel welcomed, and integrate them smoothly into your team. Having structure also helps set clear expectations. It reduces any confusion that the student may have, and again, will just help lead to a higher job satisfaction and retention rates for your team. With engagement, having other working learners or professional staff members included in the onboarding process will just help foster a supportive and collaborative environment. Of course, encouraging your new hires to build relationships or connections, feel included, gain valuable insights from experienced colleagues. So with that, it's one that I recommend if you have a more seniored working learner, student employee on your team, maybe they've been there for a year or longer, have them be more involved in taking the lead and kind of training those new hires and getting them just more involved in that sense. I'm going to pick on Amanda Kennedy, who's Associate Director with WorkPlus and Experiential Learning Initiatives. She is one that my working learners often meet with and need to know who she is and work with her on different projects. So when I first hire students, I'm getting them scheduled a meeting with Amanda so that they can get to know who she is, what she's doing, and how she can be there to support. Again, just getting others involved in that process, helping build that kind of trust throughout the team. With development, we do strongly encourage that y'all are being intentional to include time for your staff to have continuous development, whether that's ongoing training specific to their role with you all, career and professional development that's geared towards their own industry that they're pursuing post ASU. Any and all of that is encouraged to continue to have for development for your students. There are various resources for this. So one, WorkPlus, we have developed online modules housed in Canvas for students all about career readiness, helping them understand what our skills employers are looking for. We utilize NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, career competencies for that. Additionally, those modules also include a section all about storytelling and what professional storytelling means, why it's important, and helps them start to craft out different stories there. ASU is awesome because they do supply LinkedIn Learning access to all of us as pro staff, but that is also a benefit to student staff as well. So working learners have access to LinkedIn Learning. This is still something that is offered even with the Workday training. If anybody has questions or concerns around that, happy to chat on that more, send you more information on how to access those. But another really cool tool, and I can highlight it here in a moment too, that ASU provides is a platform called Forage, which is basically job simulations. There's over 300 different job simulations students can choose from on Forage that gives them that access into what does this job look like? What does this industry look like? And again, it's a job simulation. So if a student starts the project and they're like, whoo, this is not what I expected, this is not what I want to do, they can stop the project right there. No harm, no foul. But if it is something that they really enjoy, they can continue to finish out that job simulation. And now that is a real experience that they can talk about in their resume and their cover letter and future job interviews. Using one of my working learners as an example, she's a WP Carey student studying an emphasis on marketing. She did a job simulation through Forage with Lululemon's marketing department, and she got to do different marketing campaigns that go on the mirrors in Lululemon. And so that was something she genuinely enjoyed doing, and is now an experience that she can put on her resume if she wants to apply for an internship with Lululemon or apply for a job post graduation. She has that real experience that she can talk about. She knows Lululemon's audience demographics, why certain campaigns succeeded better than others, that kind of thing. So again, just a really cool resource and opportunity that ASU is supplying for our students. The last one is one that I'm huge on, is celebrating the working learners, because recognition and celebration to the working learners is very important to help boost morale. It also reinforces positive behaviors. It can foster a sense of value and motivation. Again, including this into the onboarding and beyond really sets up a positive tone for the student, showing the new hire that their contributions to your team are appreciated, and again, encouraging a culture of appreciation just from the start. I will share links here in just a moment. I'll also send a follow-up email to you all on the call and to those that were registered, again, just highlighting some of the resources and links that we're discussing today. All right, so looking at some quick resources. If you are not familiar with Work Plus, we do have a supervisor hub. This is something created to help. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I'm trying to send that to the chat now. Okay. This is a central hub that we've created highlighting resources specific to supervisors of student employees. On the hub, you'll see, again, various resources, guides, tools for you all, but there is a section hiring working learners and kind of the onboarding there. So there's, of course, tips and tricks on what to know when you are initially hiring a student, but then again, tips for welcoming your working learner. So this first guide is going to show, again, just general information on welcoming your working learner, also giving some more details around like gift giving. What would that look like? What, as a supervisor, am I allowed to gift? Am I not allowed to? What does that look like? That kind of thing. And then the second list or second link there, that onboarding checklist, is just that. It's a checklist to help you with starting points on what might be included, what should be included in your onboarding process. You all are welcome to utilize those resources and edit to better represent your team or your department. But again, just good starting points for you and your team as you are starting these onboarding processes. All right, with that, I'm going to stop talking at you all. Like I mentioned, a large part of today's session, we are wanting to hear from you all. What have you tried on with your own working learners? I know there's many on the call that have shared some great resources and strategies with me in the past. Just again, wanting to open that up to you all. If there's anybody that would like to share some of your own experiences or resources that you use with your working learners. And I did just get a message, so I'm not totally picking on Jack, but Jack, would you like to start us off?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So hi everybody, my name's Jack. I'm the operations manager for admission services for the university. And so our areas kind of field a lot of different sections of the application process, from the time the students are kind of considering and are still in high school all the way up until like right before they start classes. So we're kind of segmented into different groups. So we have the recruitment side of things, which is what we're going to be talking about mostly today. So that'll be like recruitment and also visits and events. And then we also have applicant services run by Lisa Hempel, primarily as far as student workers who process transcripts and do all of the data and the back end of everything that makes us able to do our job. So today, if it's okay, Abby, can I share my screen? Okay, cool.
Yeah, go for it.
Perfect. So what we have kind of put together, so this is something that's come over the course of like 2 or 3 years of being in this role, is I got really tired, to be honest, of training students over and over in the same way. So we decided to kind of build a Canvas course with modules that go sequentially that provide the students with all of the necessary trainings in order, so that way then they can request the access that they need to get approved in order to do their job. So the way we kind of set it up is by section. So we have all of these different sections as far as coursework that they'll go through in order. However, not every student worker is going to complete every single one of these tasks. In fact, only like 3 students will do all of it because of their role type. A majority of them will get things kind of selected based off of their set roles. So if you ever wanted to, you could always build a Canvas course, and then you can split it up by section. So that's how we've done it in the past here. So we have all of these different sections for the different types of roles. So we have devil's advocate, so all of the tour guides that you guys know and love, and then all of the different peer admission reps, so they answer recruitment related questions. We have our start workers who do our event prep, so different types of roles that the students would have, but all in one Canvas course. And we're looking to kind of keep it within just our department, but also expand it to all of the other student worker job types that there are within our unit. And so what I can kind of show you is like we start with the getting started. So this is like a welcome to admission services. It's like a little video that they watch that kind of welcomes them to our specific office. We get them set up on Slack, talk about work attire, pay information, kind of the basics that all students are really, they're wanting to know, how do I get paid, right? Like that's kind of the main question they ask on the very first day. So we get all that information, and most of this will take them about an hour or two to get through. And then we start with our online training. So these first 5 trainings are the ones that are required for all student workers. And then we added an additional 6 trainings here, depending on their role type. So actually probably like 100 of our student workers about are authorized to drive, since we have a golf cart that they will use to get around campus. And then we have other ones that are specific, like this fighting heat related stress might not have anything to do with somebody who works in an office. But again, we have tour guides, we have event prep team members. So it's helpful to have some of these trainings that are more specific. And we just assign that out based off of this assigned to. So the whole module is set as assigned to everyone, but you'll see when we go to the actual ones inside. Oh, well, that's not a good example. Let's pull this one up. The authorized driving, it's specifically to the start student workers and the operations student workers, not to all of the staff members. So that's kind of how we set ours up, and it goes sequentially. So as they finish different modules, it'll unlock the next module for them, and so on and so forth. And each of the trainings that we did down here, we found that we needed more things to fill the students' time with, because honestly, they're sitting there waiting on approvals to be authorized to do things. And that's not something our department can control. And so what we've done is we created this welcome to ASU videos and overviews. It's just helpful for any students to have, because even if it's not to do with their job, they're watching that ASU college tour Amazon Prime video. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but they're watching it and it's broken down into sections. So the way we ended up doing it at first version was that it was like open-ended questions to really make them think. That was our original thought. And then we went and realized, oh wait, but that means someone has to grade it. So what we ended up doing was creating questions that are a little bit more in depth, but are still multiple choice, so we can have right and wrong answers. So they'll watch the video first, and then based off the information in the video, they'll select the response that best fits prospective students. So that's the twist that we do for our staff, because they're talking to prospective students. So for example here, can you tell me about what makes ASU different from other universities when it comes to inclusivity? So this whole video is about inclusivity, and so then they'll choose which one of these options best aligns with that prompt if a student was to ask that question. So we're doing two birds with three probably. Number one is we're just stalling in order to get processing through. Number two, we're giving them just more context and information about the university, things they might not know, different experiences they may not have. And the third thing is giving them practice on type of questions that they might be getting once they work at the front desk or if they're on their tours, things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jack, for sharing all of that.
Sure.
And I will say, Jack and I met like last week or a week or two ago, and Jack was showing me this course that he's created, or that his department they've created for their working learners. And it was honestly just so helpful, to see how other departments are structuring or laying out their onboarding. Like personally, I didn't think of creating a Canvas course to help me with my onboarding for student employees. So it was really cool to see it in that perspective. But also in the sense that on our onboarding checklist that I just shared in the chat, previously we were only highlighting those more like mandatory ASU trainings. But after seeing Jack's, I loved the, optional trainings of minors on campus, driving, different things like that, because those were ones that my students don't need to worry about. So I really didn't think a whole lot on it, right? But our student employees here at ASU and across all the different campuses hold such vastly different types of positions that it is just good to know, there's going to be things that we didn't think about at the Work Plus office. So again, one of the great parts about Work Plus and this community that we're building is hearing from other departments and other campuses, how can we better support you, or what might we be kind of overlooking or not really seeing right away that we can better represent or highlight for all supervisors across the institution. So again, thank you, Jack, for sharing what you all are doing over at admissions.
Yeah, no problem. I did want to say one more little quick thing about it too. What I would suggest, if you're feeling a little bit like, I don't know if I can make a whole Canvas course right now, I don't have time to do it. All you really have to do is create like a spreadsheet. And so you can kind of idealize what you want. Like, do I want it to be a page? Do I want it to be a quiz? Like, just make it on here. You'll just put in a ServiceNow ticket. They'll give you a Canvas shell and you can honestly assign a student to build it, right? So if you have what you want to kind of talk about, then you can utilize your current students to build the Canvas course for future students. So it's kind of like that cyclical thing that was super helpful for us.
Jack, that was exactly what I was going to add, that yes, I think the Canvas is such a great idea, and it sounds like a really great opportunity to have your more tenured working learner, student employee staff help support with that project and creating the Canvas shell. And it's surprisingly easy to create a Canvas, and I think it's a great resource for onboarding students, especially if you have a lot of students that you are hiring year over year, or you have a lot of roles that you need to fill. So I love that, and I appreciate you sharing it.
Haley also mentioned at ISSC, somebody on her team built a CODA onboarding page, and she now has a student worker version of that they kind of use also. So again, thank you, Haley, for sharing that. Jack also threw in the chat how to request and instructions on building out a Canvas shell. So again, thank you for sharing those resources there. All right. Looking too at for some of us, we may have been not onboarding, but supervising for many years. Others of us, it might be the first time that we're supervising. So looking at the folks that have been supervising for a few years, what is something looking back that you wish you would have known when you first started to onboard and supervise student employees that you know now, but you wish you would have known when you first started, that we might be able to kind of share some experiences or tips of advice for these newer supervisors? Haley, just echoing, it takes so much more time than you expect, which I would agree. Again, it is a lengthy process. So just keeping that in mind, that the onboarding, it's not going to be just one day and you're done. Trisha also highlighted helping to connect their work to the bigger picture of your department's goals, vision, is going to help with the motivation in the student. And absolutely, again, making the student feel welcome and helping them see that they are making an impact and they are an important member of the team, is definitely going to help with their motivation and helping them see that their work is a meaningful job and not just a menial job during their undergrad. So again, thank you, Trisha, for sharing that one. All right, another question for you all. Does anybody gather feedback from their new student employees about the onboarding experience? And if so, what does that look like? Trisha, is that a yes? You do ask students for feedback?
Yes, I do ask students for feedback, but I sent it before you finished, which was specifically asking about the onboarding process, which I don't only specifically ask about that. At the end of every year, I send them a job analysis, and then at the end of their tenure, I send them an exit survey, and they are usually only with 2 years because it's graduate students. So every 2 year, or once they finish, they get that exit survey and it says, did you get adequate training? Was there all these things provided? And so that helps us with the overall vision. But the job analysis I use to say, like, what processes are not documented in your job? What tools are you using that you didn't know before? And making sure that the things that we are presenting with them are the things they're using, so that we're not showing them, you know, let's say Adobe and Articulate, but they're only using Canva. So trying to make sure that it's seamless for them.
Anybody else want to share ways if you are gathering feedback from your students, whether it's a formal process like Trisha's, or even a more informal conversation that you may have?
I guess I can kind of speak a little bit for our department, and I'm speaking a little bit more for my coworker who handles the training for like the on skills portion of our job, because we work in alternative format. So the students have to learn the different softwares to create those conversions. And one thing that he does that I think is a really great idea is that he will often assign a mentor to work with the student, and we'll have a mentor who's been doing the conversion process already for some time, that we trust their work ethic, we trust like the output that they usually give. And so we'll give them the opportunity to kind of jump into that training role. And then again, like I said, he does this more than I do. But what he'll do then is both throughout the process as well as the end of the training, he will pull both the trainee as well as the trainer and pull them separately and ask questions, you know, such as, okay, you know, like, how did it go? He'll ask the trainer, okay, where do you think, like, what's your honest review of where the trainee is at? Were there areas of training that you found really difficult that you want help developing that skill later? And then he'll kind of ask the trainee the same thing, like, okay, how are you feeling? How did you feel about your trainer? Were there areas that you felt like maybe you weren't making any connections? Just kind of those more like informal conversations to kind of help get that picture. So that way, after every single person goes through training, we as the supervisors kind of have a better idea of where everybody's at and maybe little changes that we can make along the way.
I love that. Thank you, Shannon. I also want to highlight, Jack did share in the chat too, another piece of advice that he did say he's still working on himself is treating the student employees as the adults that they are and not being afraid to hold them accountable for their actions. This is something that I love that you mentioned, Jack, because it was something that when I was in my undergrad, I was a 22-year-old working on campus. And I would get so frustrated hearing some of the professional staff members in the office talk, well, the kids need to da 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 da. And I was like, okay, well, I'm 22. I'm not a kid. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not a kid, right? So understanding that these are young adults. They are not children. They are more than capable. Again, knowing that they are capable to do these different tasks. Again, it could be something as, hey, do you have interest in this? You may not have experience, but are you interested in it? Let's teach you more about it and have you try to take the first go, right? That kind of thing. Again, our students are very capable beings that can get our tasks or projects done with us. So love that you mentioned that, Jack. Thank you. Another supervisor, Katerine, said that they have 2 Canvas sites, one for those more trainings and one for resources. Again, great to know there. On a side note, would love to connect with you more, Katerina, about that, and just seeing if there's any trainings that I should be including more broadly for everybody, if there's anything, again, that I may be overlooking. So would love to connect with you offline on that one. I know one thing that Amanda and I both have mentioned, and somebody else did too, but I already drew a blank, I'm so sorry, was utilizing our more tenured students kind of as part of that onboarding process. So with that being said, does anybody have kind of a mentorship, I don't want to say program, but program in place that you have with your working learners, or like a buddy system that you may use? And if so, what might that look like?
In our process, we do actually incorporate our, I'm going to say tenured student staff or working learners. We include them in the interview process. And so I have them do the initial interviews, one, so it's like student to student and their students are less intimidated in that process. And then they're more like, they have very structured interviews, and I go over the questions with them beforehand, making sure, okay, these are the questions we're going to ask. Is it the same way? Is there any way else that we should ask this instead? And work with my tenured student staff that way. And then they go through the interview and we debrief with them individually, so they're not cross-referencing. I'll debrief individually with them, and then I'll go through their notes and I'll call the next round. And then we don't talk about who they interviewed before until we debrief all of the candidates that had the final interview. And I'm like the authority figure that sits between them, but they actually kind of drive it and they send the messages and everything.
I love that. I also love just having other student employees involved in the interview process. I think it's just a great experience and opportunity for the student to see what it's like on the other side of the interview. When I first started having my students do that, the one student, she was so funny because she was like, oh, I thought it was just me that would get super excited and talk really fast that you can't understand, but those other 2 did it too. And I had to laugh because I'm like, oh, you are absolutely not alone in that, right? Like, we get excited, we want to talk fast, you know, you may forget things and you're like, oh, what do I say? Again, all normal that many of us experience. So again, just giving the students that kind of experience to see what it's like on the other side of the table, or whatever you may do on the other side of the screen, however that might look. Lisa, I think I also saw Lisa Hemphill. I think I saw you come off mute. Is there anything? Oh, and you just put a chat in, but is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just wrote it in the chat. I work with Jack. He mentioned earlier that we work within admission services. So we actually have a formal mentoring program with our students. So we have a level 1 and a level 3. So because we have level 1s and 3s, they're different pay scales. And the level 3 are what we consider student supervisors. And their job when we onboard students is to do all the training. So they are responsible for training starting with day 1. They're responsible for making sure students do all the required trainings they have to complete. And then they're responsible for teaching them on all the processes they have to do. And then part of also the student supervisor's job is to find mentors that are going to replace them when they graduate, or if they're planning to leave. So if a student says, I'm interested in mentoring, they have to work directly with the student supervisors. The student supervisors explain exactly what their jobs are, and then they work with them to basically train them on the appropriate way to teach somebody a new process. And it's always very interesting. to hear the feedback from the student supervisors, because stuff that they're like, oh, they do too fast, they make assumptions, they do this, they need to slow down. And it's very interesting to hear them. But it's been a very successful process for us, because we don't promote students to student supervisors until the student supervisors sign off. So if the student supervisor says this person is not ready, they have to tell us why, and they're extremely detailed on why this person is not ready to be promoted. So they have to actually get through their peers before they can get promoted. So it doesn't have anything to do with Xavier or I. It has to do strictly with the peers that they're working with. If the peers feel they're promotable.
Definitely helps if I unmute before I start talking. I love that, Lisa. And again, is really enforcing the sense of a positive culture, and it's not up to just one person whether or not that student is going to get promoted or be accepted into that lead position, but they really have to show their drive and that they're ready for that. So again, love that. Any other comments or examples anybody wants to share regarding kind of that mentorship or buddy system? Another, lead student workers participate in the interviews, discuss various things, whether it's the student's perspective versus your own perspective. And again, is beneficial to both the student and to your department at large as well. All right. Any final thoughts, comments, resources anybody wants to share? This has been a great conversation. So thank you all for engaging and sharing your own experiences throughout.
Thank you, Abby. Abby, are you going to share your PowerPoint and the links? You were saying you have created that pool solution for students where they can, with their job experience.
Yep. I will send an email to everybody. If not by end of day today, definitely first thing tomorrow. Again, with the recording to this session, I'll include the PowerPoint slides if you'd like to look through those again or share those with anybody else on your team. And again, I'll highlight some of those direct resources that I was sharing. So like that onboarding checklist, tips for onboarding your students, that recognition worksheet that I mentioned that I like my students to complete, different things like that. I'll absolutely share those out with anyone or with everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. Christine, to answer you, we use Conference or Google Calendar where we share the calendar with tool, and what we do with scheduling is like on Google Calendar, we have separate Google Calendar for students where they put their hours in, and then once they put their hour in PeopleSoft Now Workday, we usually collaborate that, like we match it with them. If anything is missing or it's more, we ask them, and that's how we keep an eye on the hours, what they're doing. So yeah, with the different number of colors, yes, we do that too.
Thank you for sharing your insights. Yeah, and for anybody else, if you didn't see in the chat, Christine was just asking if anyone has scheduling tools that they'd recommend. Again, kind of going off of that, Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar are definitely ones that we utilize. Again, University College, the Work Plus office, we utilize Monday.com. So depending on what kind of scheduling you're looking for, but Monday.com, we definitely use that to help us stay on track with different reminders, whether it's sending out communications or different project deadlines, that kind of thing.
Okay, that helps. I'll explore Monday.com. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Before I get to Trisha with her hand raised, is there anybody else that would like to share insights or resources around scheduling tools for Christine? Oh, Trisha also said using Monday.com for communicating schedules for the students in department. Absolutely.
Yeah, Monday.com has been very helpful for us to coordinate that.
All right, Trisha, I'll let you go ahead with your hand raised.
Sure. So, and I don't know if you gave me this resource, but there's a resource called Elevate. Have you heard of this? And did you talk about this before at some point and I missed it?
No,
Or-
I shared it with you just last week when we first met. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So basically that was another resource that I didn't hear you mention today, which might be helpful for some people looking for more of those experiential kind of going along like Forge and Parker Dewey and those types of, but that was the other thing that I thought would be helpful for understanding how to incorporate more meaningful work outside the classroom.
That was such a great plug. Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you for giving me the resource.
And I did share a link in the chat for Elevate if anybody was wanting to look at that a little bit more. But that does come from University College's Experiential Learning Initiatives program. And I can let Amanda talk more on this if you're willing to, Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely. So Elevate is a website that has been created through experiential learning initiatives. And basically what it is an experience finder for students. So if they're not sure of other things that they want to engage in throughout their time here at ASU, but they're looking for those experiences, those professional development opportunities, the quiz is really great to kind of get a sense of what kind of interests or passions that they have, and then make recommendations on some different opportunities that they can take a look into. So some examples of that might be after a student completes the quiz, they might be directed to the study abroad office or the global education office to learn more about some study abroad opportunities. Or maybe they are connected to internship opportunities. Maybe it's something like research. So there's so many different experiences that exist within ASU and connections that we have with partners outside of ASU and employers. And so that can be really overwhelming for students. There's kind of a lot of pressure on them to do so much during their 4 short years that they're here at ASU. And so that's just one tool that we've created to kind of condense everything into one central place, get a sense of what they're actually interested in, rather expectations that they might have within their major, or outside pressures. It just kind of allows them to reflect on what they are interested in engaging in, and then gets them connected to those opportunities.
This is a tool that I love to use. I supervise a visual designer who is a graphic design student. I know nothing about graphic design. I can hardly draw a stick person. And so when they were graduating and they were asking me, this was my first visual designer, they were asking me about what else can I be doing? Who else should I be talking to? What else can I do to show future employers I know what I'm doing? And immediately I was like, oh, I don't know. Did you post it on your LinkedIn? Like, I wasn't sure where to start. So I had my student do the quiz that Amanda was just talking about, the experience finder. And through that, I watched Taylor complete the assessment, and it populated different experiences that they could participate in, different networks that they could get involved in, and the types of people they should be kind of meeting and putting their name out with. And through that, I was like, oh, well, duh, let's get you connected to so-and-so. Oh, duh, this is a resource that I know about. Let's have you do this. So through that, it was able to help me be a more supportive supervisor and help that student gain a few more connections or networking, just to help them feel confident as they were entering the workforce leaving ASU.
We always talk about it too, but internships are kind of the gold standard of experience that students can get when they're pursuing their degree. But we know that there are lots of other opportunities and lots of other experiences that are just as beneficial and important for students to engage in. And so Elevate, really the goal of that is to compile all of those opportunities into one location so students don't have to go and search those out on their own, and maybe be introduced to things that they didn't even realize were experiences they can engage in. So they don't have to take the experience finder quiz but they're welcome to. But the website has a ton of great information. They can kind of look by career interests. They can look based off of the experience type. And we kind of, again, compiled everything in one location so that they can, go to that website and then be directed from there based on their interests.
All right, I know we are getting close on time. So with that being said, again, thank you all for joining us. Like I mentioned before too, we are all about the sense of community and building a great community of supervisors, of student employees here at ASU. So if you have not already, we encourage you to join our Slack channel. I just put a link in the chat for that. Invite your friends or colleagues that are supervisors to student employees to be on that channel. A lot of great resources, conversation happens regarding student employment on that. In addition to, I share fun reminders of different workshops or networking happy hour events that we're doing for supervisors. We'll be sharing some more information about next month's professional development workshop and upcoming happy hour or networking events. So keep an eye on those. Christine, yes, I will be sharing some more information here soon. February's event that we are planning to have is all about utilizing AI in writing your job descriptions or helping you come up with interview questions. So how can we be utilizing AI to help us with different aspects like that?
I did want to add just one extra plug. So Work Plus is a national initiative also. So we have something called the Work Plus Collective. Similar to how we do monthly workshops here at ASU, we also do workshops at a larger scale that we invite institutions from across the country to attend. So we are doing a workshop actually next week. It is free to attend. It's virtual. I'm going to throw the link in the chat so you can take a look at more information. But we have a Work Plus Collective partner who did a bunch of research around supervisors of student employees. And so he's going to be presenting some of that research and the findings. We have reports that we can share after the presentation if you're interested in attending that. But also take a look at that website. There's another event that we have scheduled in February all around supervision as well. It's again at a national scale, so it won't be specific to ASU, but it's still a lot of good information if you are interested in further engaging with us.
Thank you, Amanda. And again, thank you all. Of course, if you have any concerns, questions, need help with anything, you are more than welcome to directly connect with Amanda Kennedy or myself, or of course, utilize that Slack channel and ask other supervisors across the institution what they may be doing. Again, thank you all. I hope you all have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday, and we'll talk soon.